invocation will be led by Commissioner Ladante Walker, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by our new Commissioner, Bart Stafford. Please stand.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, thank you for your amazing power and work in our lives. Thank you for your goodness and for your blessings over us. Bless this meeting today, all those present, as well as the lives of those we will encounter afterwards. Ready us to make every moment count. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Planning Commission meeting for May 13th, 2021 is now called to order. Some planning commissioners are here in board chambers and some are participating via Zoom. Director Selman, we have some new commissioners. Would you please introduce people?
Yes, we do. Pleased to introduce 4 new seated commissioners. First of all, Carrie Hobby, who has been an alternate and is now a regular. Bart Stafford is here. Then we have Brian Gerke and, oh my goodness, Lori Erickson. Okay, sorry, Lori Erickson. And we're very happy to have these 4 commissioners with us tonight. And we have one alternate sitting in tonight, and that is Commissioner Erickson. Baker Goldsmith is Zooming with us. He is a non-voting member tonight. Thank you.
And Michelle Baker is a commissioner Zooming with us tonight, too.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. We encourage you to wear your mask while indoors and to observe the 6-foot social distancing. The hearing room is set up to allow a maximum of 40 people. Looks okay. Please respect that limit and do not add chairs. The lobby and outdoors are the overflow areas. The meeting is broadcast to the big screen in the lobby. Once you have spoken, please exit the room so that others can sit while they await their turn to speak. When your name is called, please come to the podium. Address your comments to the Planning Commission, not to the audience. Any questions you ask will be answered once everyone who has signed up to speak. When your name has spoken. When your name is called, please come to the podium. We understand that you may have strong feelings one way or another. Out of curiosity and courtesy, unless it is your turn to speak, please remain silent. Please refrain from applauding, cheering, booing, or other outbursts. This is a fact-finding hearing. There is no need to repeat what has already been said. If a previous speaker stated the points you wish to make, you may simply acknowledge that so the hearing may proceed. The applicant will have 5 minutes to speak. Other speakers each will have 3 minutes, and please respect the time limit. If you intend to speak on an item tonight, please sign up at the table at the back, and names will be called in the order on the sign-up sheets. Mr. Stoddard, will you please call the roll?
So we've had one request from the audience, either turn up the volume, or I don't know if we need to get microphones closer to us, but they're having a difficult time hearing us.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'll go ahead with roll call. Ramick?
Here.
Hobby?
Present.
Erickson?
Here.
Stafford?
here.
Baker?
Here.
Gerke?
Here.
White?
Here.
Walker?
Here.
Janet?
Here. Thank you. First of all, may I have a motion for approval of last month's minutes?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Thank you. May I have a motion for approval of tonight's agenda?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. The next item on tonight's agenda is the consent agenda. Items placed in this section are applications which demonstrate compliance with all applicable city requirements. These items shall not involve discussion by the Planning Commission or the public. The consent agenda will be voted on in one motion. Do we have somebody signed up for the consent agenda?
We do.
All right.
There are
Item
6.
number 1 is the consent agenda. So we will vote on that to remove that from the consent agenda and add it to new business.
I'd like to make a motion that we move item number 1 from consent to new business.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you. Then, we have no items on the consent agenda. So Director Selman, will you please introduce item 1?
Thank you. Item number 1 is Wireless Communication Facility, WCF 21046. Application for a new 100-foot monopole tower located at approximately 2110 7th Street.
Thank you. A motion to approve merely gets this matter on the floor for discussion. A motion to approve and a second do not mean that you are necessarily in favor of a particular application. May I have a may I have a motion for approval of item 1?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And Director Selman, will you please present this item?
Thank you. The applicant is Mr. Troy Williams, representing Branch Towers 3. He is representing approval to construct a new 100-foot communication tower with lightning rod on the Oaklawn Church of God site located at 2110 7th Street. The property is zoned R3, low-density residential, has a future land use plan classification of residential medium high. It's located in Board of Directors District Number 4. The application was deemed complete. The applicant provided a determination of no hazard to air navigation letter from the FAA dated May 27, 2020 for this site. The applicant has addressed all requirements of Hot Springs Memorial Field Airport Zone for such request. The proposed project appears to comply with the rules, regulations, and requirements of Hot Springs Code, Section HSC 16284, and related codes, including Article 9 of the Hot Springs Code, wireless communication facilities, and this is based upon evidence in the record. Recommendation is to approve the requested 100-foot tall monopole wireless communication facility with 5-foot lightning rod with 11 conditions, and I will read the conditions into the record. Number 1, all construction and construction activity are to be accomplished in strict accordance with all applicable approval conditions and with the minimum standards, codes, rules and regulations, and policies as may now or hereafter be required or enacted by the City of Hot Springs, the State of Arkansas, and or the United States of America, including the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code, whether or not submitted for staff review or Planning Commission approval. Number 2, the development site shall be constructed and developed in strict accordance with the approved site and development plans, including but not limited to location of buildings, drives, parking, and existing landscaping. Number 3, all existing site features and introduced landscaping will be maintained and repaired where necessary. Number 4, separate permit applications shall be made by the applicant to Hot Springs Engineering or building departments, and permits shall be in hand for building, stormwater, drainage, and sidewalks as may be required prior to any work beginning. Number 5, no development signs are approved or permitted as part of this conditional use review. Number 6, all exterior lighting shall be fully downcast and full cutoff and shall contain all illumination on the subject property. Lighting shall be positioned so as not to create a nuisance to any adjacent properties. Number 7, this use and activity shall not impose any undue hardship or nuisance upon the nearby neighborhood. Number 8, the applicant has an affirmative responsibility to demonstrate ongoing compliance with the conditions of this approval. 9, the monopole is to be painted extra white, ceiling bright white, and ice cube tricolor. These are whites with a gray cast and can be seen on the color chart that was enclosed in the staff report to minimize any adverse visual impacts and to enhance compatibility of the WCF with surrounding properties. Number 10, utility separation minimums must be met for 2-foot horizontal and 18-inch vertical for cable or telephone from city utility mains, and 5 feet horizontal and 2 feet vertical for electrical from city utility mains. And number 11, the applicant states that the structure will accommodate a minimum of 3 providers, and it shall be a condition to so accommodate future wireless communication facilities as required by Hot Springs Code, Section 16287. And that concludes the staff report.
Thank you, ma'am. Will the applicant please come forward? Sir, is there anything you'd like to add to the record?
Just so everyone's clear, my name is actually Cole Talbot. Troy Williams is on vacation this week, but I am a representative for Branch Towers, and I can address any questions that anyone may have. We're excited about this development. We think it'll be a great thing for the community. AT&T has capacity coverages that have reached their limits on existing sites, so this site will serve as an offload to those existing sites, as well as enhance the coverages in that area. If there's any other questions, I can address those, and we also have a couple of AT&T representatives here if there's any questions that need to be addressed.
Okay, we'll wait until the audience has stated theirs, then we'll talk to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right,
And-
Mr. Jonathan Prazak. And sir, if you'll please repeat your name and give us your address, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. May I remove my mask for
Yes, sir.
presentation? And before I begin, I have some maps. I made 11 copies, color copies for the board. May I hand these to Mr. Stoddard?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I made
you, sir.
11 copies. I think I'm close.
Thank you, sir.
We're ready.
All right, my name's Jonathan Prazak. I'm a lawyer from Texarkana, from Little Rock. I am at 720 East 5th Street, Texarkana, Arkansas. I represent a company today called SBA Towers 2 LLC. SBA is the operator of an existing 146-foot tower at 3350 Central Avenue. We're here today in opposition of the AT&T and Branch Communications Tower. If it's allowed to go forward, the new tower is going to be 100 feet tall. It's going to be at 2110 7th Street, and that is 0.5858 miles, a little over half a mile away from the existing tower. The ordinances for Hot Springs, the first one is 162-81, which says that co-location and site sharing of new and existing WCF is to be encouraged. To reach that goal, there's a section 162-87, which is shared facilities and co-location policy, which provides that an applicant proposing a new WCF or tower shall demonstrate that it has made a reasonably good faith attempt to find a co-location site. Competitive conflict and financial burden are not deemed to be adequate reasons against co-location. So it's the applicant's burden to prove that co-location could not happen. Per the application that's promulgated by this commission, it's on page 22 of your packet, there is a checklist. The second item addresses co-location, and it puts on the applicant's burden to go out and seek letters from owners or operators of each facility it contacted in an attempt to find a suitable co-location site. For AT&T and Branch's part, they marked on number 22, they marked the second line item as NA, not applicable to it, and they did not provide any of the letters showing that they attempted to co-locate. They wrote a letter. Within the letter, they said that there were no co-locatable structures that met the minimum height that provide coverage, but they did not show their work. And they expect everyone to take their word for it, which is not what the application provides for that they should have done. So on those bases, my client opposes the permit that they have applied for in the construction of this new tower on one basis, that they failed to demonstrate a reasonably good faith attempt to find a co-location site, which they were required to do so. And I know I only have 3 minutes. Those maps are RF studies, radio frequency studies. Each one, they go in order, different radio frequencies. Each one first is the existing location, which is between Higdon Ferry and Central, versus the new one. And what they show is their comparable cell phone coverage between the two locations. And finally, I would add that AT&T never called my client before applying for this permit. And I believe we're going to take questions at the end, so I will sit down. Thank you so much
sir.
for your time. Did I get in 3 minutes?
Q. Byram Hurst. Is Mr. Hurst here?
Yeah, this is not his topic, I don't think.
Yes, it is.
What is it?
He's on here.
I'm
Did you-
sorry, I couldn't hear you, but the sound system seems a little bit down, and my hearing's probably a little down too. So, my name is Q. Byram Hurst, and my professional address is 518 Washita in Hot Springs. And my role in this is that I attend church at Oaklawn Church of God. I'm also on the Board of Elders at Oaklawn Church of God. Several months ago, we were approached by AT&T about locating a tower on our property. And we considered that an extremely serious matter because we don't want anything that interferes in any way with our congregation or our worship services or anything of that nature. We started working with AT&T and found them to be extremely cooperative. They made several changes. Eventually, we entered into a lease with them, and the lease was approved by our entire congregation when we presented it to them. The terms of that are beneficial to our church. We think it was aesthetically pleasing. We felt like it was not dangerous in any way. And we also felt like, from what we knew about this, that it was in the best interest of the public. So we would ask you to approve of this application. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Kelly Gottspooner? And let me do one apology for mispronouncing anybody's names tonight, because my name is terrible. And
You did actually very well.
okay, thank you. If you'll please.
My name is Kelly Gottspooner. I'm at 14818 Cedar Heights Road, North Little Rock, Arkansas. I work for AT&T, but prior to AT&T, I worked for the state of Arkansas doing data collection for the FirstNet project, which is part of a 9/11 Commission recommendation. When Governor Hutchinson opted in to accept the FirstNet program, I carried on this position into the AT&T position and am still over the FirstNet project for the state of Arkansas. FirstNet is designed to bring coverage, capacity, reliability to our first responders throughout the United States. And as such, one of the provisions is to bring coverage into areas that are operational areas for our responders that historically have not been covered. So I would urge you to review the areas that are identified on the maps that these wonderful engineers have provided, because there are some very striking differences about the coverage availability of this new tower location versus using a co-located tower in the area. Our goal is to bring as much coverage as possible to these responders. Our other goal is to make sure that these responders have reliable communications, and being in conjunction with the federal government through the FirstNet Authority, we have requirements in regards to our towers, their safety, their security, what we expect them to do. One other thing I do want to point out is that as being part of the church, churches historically, when there's some sort of a natural disaster, become a very big congregation area and very often shelters. During times of need, our networks can get very overcrowded during these events, and to be able to have that capacity and coverage right there for an area that could very easily become a community area of gathering during an event can be incredibly important. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Cole Talbert.
Yes.
If you'll please give us your name and your address.
Oh, Cole Talbot. My address is 1713 Northwest 150th Terrace, Edmond, Oklahoma. And I am the applicant, or representing the
okay.
applicant, so.
Then I'm sorry, you don't have to come back again.
Okay, you're just fine.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Sorry. Terry Arrington? Boy, I missed that.
And good job pronouncing my name.
Thank you.
I am Terry Arrington. I am pastor of Oaklawn Church of God. And my address is 112 Elise Circle in Hot Springs. Naturally, I'm for this, okay? But my reasoning is that a lot of times my cell phone use at the church is almost non-existent, because certain times of year, especially during the school, because right across the street is Hot Springs High School and the new junior academy, which is simply phenomenal. And during the school year, there's certain times of days when it just disappears. There's not enough strength of signal to work with a phone in any way, shape, form, or fashion at certain times of day, 9 months out of the year. So I see that there is a need. Yes, it would be very beneficial to our congregation, especially in areas where we need to improve our property. It would be of great help. But the main thing for me as a resident is that I have a very difficult time using my cell phone at that property. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Daniel Albritton?
Hello, I'm Daniel Albritton. Address is 9621 Myers Road, that's in Benton. I am the senior engineer for AT&T for the state of Arkansas. I'm also the engineer that designed this site from concept on. To address the opposition comments, I'm very aware of SBA. I've worked in this industry 25 years as a technician and as an engineer. This was one of my areas. I start by identifying a need. That's what we do. We have a problem and it needs to be fixed. And when it comes to cell phone coverage, it's not just about the coverage, it's also about quality, it's also about capacity. It's about serving the customers. We have all the towers on the maps that in several versions. I have several ways to go and look at existing towers in an area where I'm looking. I issue a search radius based on the network. The search radius was 0.2 miles. You'll recall he said that the tower that they're pointing to specifically was a little over half a mile. I believe it's 0.58 miles. Very familiar with it. There actually was a PowerPoint presentation that was presented that I actually ran. My configuration, what I'm planning on this tower, on the SBA tower location, and it's a marked distance. That location is not appropriate for what we need to do. In fact, it would actually hurt the customer when it comes to quality. It's no longer just about signal level now. We're using lower power. We're trying to be very efficient with the use of the radio waves and the radio resources. All the power resources that are coming out of amplifiers are now shared resources. We all know that if you get on an internet connection and there's too many people on it, it gets slow. Well, it's the same way with our network, and that's what we're trying to manage it. We want to fix a problem. I'm the guy that has to go out in the public and hear the good and the bad, and that's just what we're trying to do. I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you, sir. I believe I've called everybody that signed up. Did I miss anybody that intended to sign up? All right, thank you. Those who have signed up have all spoken now, and the public hearing portion is closed, and the Planning Commission will discuss the project and take action. Let's start with Ladante. Commissioner Walker, do you have any questions, concerns?
No.
No? Commissioner Stafford?
Yes, I guess, question directed to staff with regard to the requirements for looking at co-locating the service with an existing location, an existing tower. That was taken into consideration, as I understand it?
It was, and I would like to clarify the language on the application. The co-location section asks, are co-locations positions available on the tower, meaning the proposed tower? He checked yes. And the NA relates to the fact that there's nothing there at this time. This is not a request for details on what options could have been done other than this. The studies that were provided were consistent with the requirements of Hot Springs Code, and we're satisfied that the requirements of that code have been met by this applicant.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarification.
Going to be my question, too. Commissioner Hobby?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Michelle Baker?
No questions.
Thank you. Commissioner White?
Kathy just answered mine.
Yeah, me too. Commissioner Ramick?
Yes, I would like to address this to the gentleman from Oklahoma. I think I read that there are 3 providers on the tower.
Oh, sir, I'm sorry. Would you please come up to the... I'm sorry.
There are 3 providers on the tower. Can you tell us what those 3 providers are?
So it'll be structurally sound for up to 3 carriers. Initially, when the tower is built, AT&T will be the first carrier on, but it'll be structurally designed initially for up to 3 carriers. Is what that means.
And that will be the maximum you can put on the tower, 3?
It can be modified eventually to hold more. Typically, 4 is a fully loaded tower, but there is modifications you can do. But as it's designed as it is, would be 3.
I just know that we have some areas that have a pretty poor reception here. So I'd like to get as many providers on there as we could.
Yep. We'll market it and to other carriers and hopefully get them in the area as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Commissioner Erickson?
No questions.
Commissioner Gerke?
No questions.
Any conversation?
No.
No?
No.
All right, then I believe that I need to ask Mr. Stafford,
Stoddard.
Thank you, Stoddard, to call the roll.
So is this motion to approve with staff findings and recommendation?
Sorry,
Motion to approve.
I'm just terrible.
Hobby?
Approve.
Wait for the motion.
First, I need a motion.
There is
to-
a motion to
I'd like to make
approve.
a motion to approve the
I'll second it.
the item.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Carrie seconded it.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Stoddard.
And then Hobby approves.
Hobby?
Thank you.
That's what he said.
She already said yes. Erickson?
Approve.
Stafford?
Approve?
Baker?
Approve.
Gerke?
Approve.
White?
Approve.
Walker?
Approve.
Ramick?
Approve.
Janet?
Approve. Thank you. Do you need to do the count or no?
Oh, the application has been approved, and
Unanimous.
with the staff report findings and recommendations, and the vote was unanimous.
Thank you. Director Selman, would you now please introduce item number 2?
Yes, thank you. Item number 2 is preliminary subdivision, PS 21043, an application for a new 33-lot subdivision, Silver Key, to be located at approximately 258 Five Points Road.
Thank you. A motion to approve merely gets this matter on the floor for discussion. A motion to approve and a second do not mean that you are necessarily in favor of a particular application. May I have a motion for approval of item 2?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All right, planning commissioners, please hold your questions until everyone has been presented. Director Selman, will you please present the staff report on item number 2?
Thank you, Chairman. Applicant Aaron Burrows, P.E. with Atoka Incorporated, representing property owner Joseph France, seeks preliminary subdivision plat and development plan approval for a new 33-lot residential subdivision on the subject property. The subdivision is to contain 2 blocks and several tracts. It is to be known as Silver Key Subdivision. The subject is generally located between 258 Five Points Road and the 200 block of Aberina Street. The property is zoned RL, Lake Area Residential, has a future land use map designation of residential low, and is located in Board of Directors District Number 5. The preliminary subdivision request seeks to divide and develop this largely vacant property into 2 blocks. Block 1 would have 17 lots and 2 tracts. Block 2, 16 lots, 2 of which contain existing homes. There are 3 tracts. In addition, there is some property which is in dispute as to ownership, and that property is not included in this plat. Portion of the subject property has steep slopes, in some areas exceeding 18%, thus qualifying it as a hillside subdivision per Hot Springs Code. The maintenance of common areas, streets, streetlights, and drainage, according to the draft bill of assurance, will be the responsibility of a homeowners association. Hot Springs Code 16446 lists all submission requirements for preliminary plats and associated development plans. The applicant's resubmittal, that was subsequent to the Development Review Committee comments, along with the recommended conditions of approval, satisfy Hot Springs Code Section 16442, standards for submission, consideration, and approval of development plans and preliminary plats. The recommendation is to approve the preliminary plat and development plan for the Silver Key subdivision as submitted with the following conditions because the submittal demonstrates compliance with Hot Springs Code Section 16446 and Hot Springs Code 16442, along with the objectives of the zoning code being accomplished. Number 1, now I'll read the conditions into the record. There are 7. Number 1, all construction and construction activities are to be accomplished in strict accordance with the approved preliminary plat and development plans. These conditions of approval and all applicable technical codes and specifications, including the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code, whether or not submitted for staff review or planning commission approval. Number 2, a final subdivision bill of assurance shall be provided to and approved by the planning department prior to execution of the subdivision final plat. A copy of the recorded bill of assurance shall be returned to the planning department after recordation. Number 3, full and continuous compliance with all applicable stormwater permitting and water quality regulations, including a retention and detention plan if required. Number 4, the planning director shall be authorized to sign the preliminary plat listing these conditions of approval and the development plan, and work shall not proceed until the preliminary plat has been so executed. Number 5, no permits will be issued and the sale of lots shall not occur until a final plat meeting the requirements of Hot Springs Code Section 16444 has been approved by the planning director and filed for record with Garland County Circuit Clerk, and an original copy of the filed plat returned to the planning department office. Number 6, approval of this preliminary plat and development plan is valid until May 13th, 2023. Prior to this date, the developer may request in writing an extension of up to 1 year for project completion. And number 7, The final plat shall additionally identify tracts in blocks 1 and 2 by name with use, for example, tract X, common area, or boat launch, or whatever. That concludes the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Will the applicant please come forward? And if you'll please give us your name and your address, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Aaron Burrows. I'm a professional engineer with Atoka Incorporated. Our business address is 554 Mid-America Boulevard in Hot Springs. I've worked with Joseph France and Chris Post, the co-developers on this, to develop the 33-lot subdivision. As Director Selman, well, not Director, as Ms. Selman has said, there's 31 new lots and 2 existing lots. We're developing a new road coming in from Aberina Street. We'll be extending 5 Points Road and then building a connecting road between the 2 roads. This will enhance the safety and the ability for emergency vehicles to travel where these are dead-end. Aberina is a dead-end road and 5 Points are now dead-end road. The connecting roads and extensions will provide a secondary means of egress for the residents, both within this subdivision and those on Aberina and on 5 Points. It is a steep subdivision. There's a creek along the west side. We are going to stay out of the creek, and in fact, we're going to leave undisturbed all of the lands on the south and west side of that creek will remain undisturbed. We have developed this as an RL, residential lake compliant subdivision. As you remember, many of you that were on the original Planning Commission, we did a plan development submittal earlier. The changes we made to it was in order to be compliant with a residential lake subdivision, we had to make the lots 100 feet wide. So that reduced the number of lots, but we went ahead and developed all 20 acres of the land instead of, we had 6 acres that were undeveloped in the northeast corner, but we've now developed all 20 acres of it, with the exception of the common tracts, again, that Ms. Selman mentioned already. We will also be making water improvements. Currently, again, similar to the roads, the water lines are dead-end water lines. There's a 6-inch water line on Aberina Street, and there's a 6-inch water line on 5 Point Circle. We'll be connecting those 2 6-inch lines. We'll be making a 6-inch water main extension along 5 Points Road, and then connecting it through our subdivision to Aberina, which will increase fire flow and water flow in that area, which will meet the requirements of the fire department for fire flow capacity. Traffic, again, we're developing 20 acres of land. If this was a flat piece of land and could be perfectly developed, we could probably put 60 homes, 60 lots on this, but because of the odd shape of the land, because of the steepness of the land, we're only able to get about half that many, 33 lots, or about 1.6 houses per acre. So the traffic impact of this development is a lot less, about half of what the traffic impact would be for even a residential lake compliant subdivision. Will be a nice subdivision. We have curb and gutter, underground utilities. There will be traffic lighting, 96-foot diameter cul-de-sacs by code, 28-foot wide roads, again by code, and none of the roads will exceed a 10% slope. Again, because of the steepness of the land and because of fire code, we had to do a very aggressive excavation plan in order to make a hilly piece of land with 18% and greater slopes, no greater than 10%. So basically, we're moving a mountain of dirt in order to make the land compliant with the fire code. That's pretty much my demonstration. Or presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be available for those.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Has anybody signed up, Mr. Stoddard, to speak on this item? Thank you, sir. Q. Byram Hurst.
Thank you. My name is Q. Byram Hurst, and my professional address is 518 Washita, Hot Springs, Arkansas. And I was hired in this matter to represent the developers in regard to the legal aspects that may be involved in it. And I think that's very important, really, because so much of the time people don't go to the trouble to hire a lawyer or someone in a legal field to advise them as to how to get in compliance with the law. And that's what these people have done. And thankfully, we looked at it. We worked with Aaron, and his plans were in compliance with the code, in compliance with the law. And as I told my clients, if you're in compliance, then you should be treated fairly just like anyone else. And that the zoning code, the building code, the laws of the state of Arkansas are designed that when you get compliant, it should be approved. Now, I noticed that there is no opposition from, of course, it has the approval of the planning department, but there's no opposition from the fire marshal, from the police chief, from anybody involved in public works or anything of that nature. And I think that's important. And one thing that I wanted to remind you of is, you know, we have a comprehensive plan in the city of Hot Springs, and we look at that. And I looked at that when I was trying to give my clients some guidance and advice. And one thing that stood out to me is in the vision, it says that one of the purposes of the comprehensive plan is to ensure economic viability for the city of Hot Springs. And I started thinking about this subdivision. It meets all the requirements, but more importantly than that, when you approve a subdivision like this and it's constructed, you're also enhancing the school districts. This is in Hot Springs School District. Because that you will have improvements placed on this open land, this unimproved land, the tax base will go up, and Hot Springs schools will benefit from that. In addition to that, when you think about it and the economic viability, when you put together a subdivision, you're going to have plumbers, electricians, carpenters, people in the concrete and cement business, all working for better than a living wage. I think that when you have an engineer that puts together the plans properly, when you have people that are going to involve themselves in improving our community, it should be approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Glenda Dunn?
Yes, my name is Glenda Dunn, and I live on Buena Vista in District 5. In using some of their words, Mr. Burris talked about aggressive excavation. They talked about the 2040 plan, about, you know, bringing improvements and people to the city. You know, some of the things that I want to talk about in using that, aggressive excavation. I have a real big concern about an environmental study not being done on this property before any construction or approval is done. Because of the fact that Mr. France was involved in another project on Buena Vista, just right close to my house, and the issues that we've had with that property, and the fact that it's my understanding that the city engineer is having to meet weekly due to lack of staying in compliance. We've had a lot of issues, electricity cut, different utilities cut, they've tore down a mountain there also, and I wish you would go look at it and see it. The 2040 plan talks about this property being residential lake and low density. It also discusses about the fact of them wanting to have the lack of destruction to the lake bed and the lake area around there. They've had to do 2 different fences further down on Buena Vista because of the runoff, which will actually probably happen in this case also because of the aggressive excavation. The runoff into Lake Hamilton and the damage that it is doing to that area with the wildlife, the fishing, the traffic. I could go on and on with the list. So, you know, as I do oppose this project with the number of properties that they're putting on the property, or number of lots that they're putting on the property, I have a real concern about the aggressive excavation and the fact of what this is doing to the 2040 comprehensive plan that the city spent over $200,000 on, to have that area studied and then to have it zoned the way it's zoned, and then for them to come in there with this much excavation as to what, you know, what it's going to do to the environment. So I really think there needs to be at least some type of environmental study done on this before this is approved tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody that wants to speak that didn't sign up? All right, thank you. The public portion of the discussion is closed, and now the commissioners will speak. Sir, Mr. Gerke, do you have anything?
Madam Chairman, just a clarification or question for Ms. Selman. Obviously, it meets all the criteria of the city, or the planning department, which environmental study is not one of them.
That is correct.
Ms. Erickson?
No comment or questions.
Mr. Ramick?
Yes, I too had a concern about the two projects going on at the same time, but we have to look at each one individually. And this project, in my opinion, meets the codes, the building codes of the city of Hot Springs. And again, you know, Mr. Hurst mentioned all the trades that would be involved in this with the wages. I don't know how you guys are going to afford lumber and plywood, but anyway, it's going to be a benefit to our community, I think.
Mr. White, Commissioner White?
Just a quick comment. I've done quite a bit of work on homes, custom homes in this area. I see this as a beneficial addition to the lakefront. Although I must agree with my colleague, Mr. Remick, I have no idea how you guys are going to afford building materials. That's it.
Commissioner Hobby?
I mean, my question goes back to, is it possible for an environmental study? Yes, we do have to look at these two projects differently, but I went to it by road, I went to it by boat, and I see the same things. So I am concerned because property, it seems to be growing, and Hamilton already has a ton of homes on it. So what will these homes, what will these additions, whether it be great for the city of Hot Springs, for all of us, we also have to remind ourselves that we wouldn't be here if we didn't have these beautiful natural things that bring us here. So again, I don't know, Kathy, if it's even a possibility to request one.
The subdivision code is explicit as to what is required. It's possible that in the future that might be amended, but it has not been. And so as far as the requirements in the code at this time, this application has met those requirements. But I do want to say that they will have to look at water quality and stormwater, and they will be monitored for that.
Okay. Yeah, I know it meets all the requirements, but of course I just wanted to voice my opinion. Thank you.
Can I jump in real quick? Has this met all of the individual department interviews?
Yes, it has. It has been reviewed by all of the regulating departments. They have commented on an initial application. Their comments have been addressed by the resubmittal, and the resubmittal is what is before us tonight.
And that's all been approved?
Yes, it has.
Thank you.
That was a question I was going to ask, because the fire department says if a proposed pavilion, they can still come back and require that sprinkler system if a pavilion is built. Is that true?
Anything that is built will have to will have to meet the requirements of the building code, the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code. Anything that applies will have to be met.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. Commissioner, I'm going to get there in a minute. Stafford?
I too have some concerns about the environmental impact. However, it meets the requirements per staff. is there any conditions that could be placed for further review at some point around environmental conditions in that area and whether or not there's a negative impact?
Can you be more specific what you would be looking for with regard to that?
To be honest, I don't know how to state what, I just was wondering if there was any condition that could be stated as a part of the approval that would require that concern be addressed or at least monitored.
It will be monitored, I can assure you of that. And condition number 1 requires that all construction and construction activities, and that would include grading and site preparation, be compliant with all technical codes and specifications that have been adopted by the city, including the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code, and that is all of their activities, whether they have specifically asked for permission or not. All of those things must comply with the code.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Walker?
No.
Commissioner Baker?
No questions.
Thank you. We had a motion to approve item 2. The staff report findings recommend approval, and now we need to call the roll. Mr. Stoddard, if you would please.
Erickson,
I approve.
Stafford,
Approve?
Baker,
Approve.
Gerke,
Approve.
White,
Approve.
Walker,
Approve.
Ramey,
Approve.
Hobby,
Approve.
Janet.
Approved.
Okay, the vote is 9-0 for approval. The approval is, or decision is final unless appealed to the board within 30 days. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Item 3. Director Selman, would you please introduce item 3?
Yes. Item number 3 is a rezone, RZ 21044, a request to change zoning from R4 residential medium high to C4 regional commercial outdoor display located at approximately 2150 Higdon Ferry Road.
Thank you, ma'am. A motion to approve merely gets the matter on the floor for discussion. A motion to approve and a second do not mean you're necessarily in favor of a particular application. May I please have a motion for approval of item 3?
I move.
May I have, thank you. Planning commissioners, please hold your questions until everyone has been presented. Director Selman, would you please present item 3?
Thank you. Applicant Mr. Philip Lewis of Philip Lewis Engineering Incorporated is representing property owner Smart Storage LLC in requesting a zone change from R4 medium high density residential district zoning to C4 regional commercial open display district zoning for property at approximately 2150 Higdon Ferry Road. The subject property has a future land use classification of residential medium high and is located in Board of Directors District Number 4. The subject property is northwest of the intersection of Higdon Ferry Road and South Central Avenue, Arkansas Highway 7. It is 4 acres of unplatted land. The property is wooded and without street frontage. This property is under the same ownership of adjacent property to the east, which is currently being redeveloped as an interior climate-controlled self-storage facility. The property's future land use map designation of residential medium high likely anticipated an expansion of the existing multifamily apartment complex to the south. That expansion has not occurred. Adjacent C4 regional commercial open display district property to the east has a future land use map designation of regional commercial center, which is consistent with the C4 zone district. Adjacent properties are zoned R1 rural residential to the north, R4 medium high density residential to the south, C4 commercial Regional Commercial Open Display District to the east and planned development to the west. Adjacent land uses include wooded land currently undeveloped to the north, multifamily apartment complex to the south, a former skating rink, which is being converted to the previously mentioned interior climate-controlled self-storage facility to the east, and a nursing and convalescent facility to the west. Other nearby land uses include a convenience store, bank, automotive dealerships, mini golf, restaurants, and a mall. The most recent Arkansas Department of Transportation daily traffic estimates from 2019 list 13,000 vehicle trips on this section of Higdon Ferry Road and 23,000 vehicle trips on nearby Central Avenue. These estimated daily vehicle trips demonstrate Higdon Ferry Road and Central Avenue intersection as a major intersection in South Hot Springs and consistent with the C4 Regional Commercial Open Display District zoning. The applicant submitted a narrative in support of the zone change, which contained three discussion points which address the required findings of Planning Commission. Excuse me. This seems shorter than usual. Demonstrating compatibility with surrounding development and zoning, acknowledging a significant change, in surrounding physical, economic, land use, and other conditions with the widening of Higdon Ferry Road in the last several years, extending from Harvard Street south to Central Avenue. And this widening did set the stage for significant changes to land use in the vicinity. Mm-hmm. And so that was demonstration of code compliance. Findings on this, the future land use plan map amendment finding is that the subject property currently has a future land use plan map designation of residential medium high. Adjacent C4 zone property to the east has a future land use plan map designation of regional commercial center. Responding to Higdon Ferry widening and improvement, a future land use plan map designation of regional commercial center for the subject land is consistent with the requested zone and with the surrounding development. Recommendation with regard to the future land use plan map amendment is that you amend the map from residential medium high to regional commercial center. With regard to the zoning map amendment, excuse me. The applicant successfully demonstrates that the standards for a favorable consideration have been met. Planning Commission is able to establish a basis for recommendation to the Board of Directors that the proposed change demonstrates compatibility with surrounding development and zoning, and that a significant change has occurred and is occurring in the area. The staff recommendation with regard to the zoning map amendment is that Planning Commission recommend that the Board of Directors adopt an ordinance amending the zoning map by designating the subject property C4 Regional Commercial Open Display District, because Planning Commission can make a specific finding that the proposed change demonstrates compatibility with surrounding development and zoning, and that a significant change has occurred and is occurring in the area. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Excuse me, will the applicant please come forward? Is the applicant here?
No, he's not.
Is anybody signed up to speak on this item? Can we just go on without him?
Nope.
Okay, what
You
do
can
I
take
do?
testimonies, but without an applicant,
We
we can't vote.
Okay, I don't know if you all heard or not, but because the applicant's not here, we cannot hold a vote on this item. We can certainly listen to your concerns and take your testimony, or if you'd rather, you can come back if this item goes on the agenda again.
I think we need to table it since the applicant's not here.
from Orlando, so can I speak?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Please give us your name and your address and your phone, and your name and your address, not your phone number.
I'm Diane Bowman from, and my address is 341 Vera Cliff Court in Oviedo, Florida. And we are the managing members of the apartment complex right next to this property. We have 88 units of affordable housing right next to this. And while I understand the need for this, and I fully agree, I've been in development for a long time, so I understand this is a commercial property. All I ask is that in the approval process that you consider leaving a landscape buffer between the residential property and their commercial. That there be a 25 or 50-foot landscape buffer so that our residential tenants are not disrupted by having commercial property right next door. They've been there a long time. These are a lot of residents of Hot Springs. They live and work here. They've been here a long time. So in this approval process, if we could leave a landscape buffer along the residential property, I would greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr.
Thank you for
Bowman?
coming
do you-
here.
Yeah. Mr. Bowman?
Just for this, just to come see you.
Wow. That's concern. We appreciate that. Mr. Bowman?
Thank you for your time. I'm Bob Bowman. My address is 341 Vera Cliff Court in Oviedo, Florida, which is a little town that touches Orlando. I'm happy to be here. We care very much about our residents in Hot Springs. And one of the reasons, as investors, we chose your town is that we love what's going on here. We're pro-development. But one of the things that is unique that we're concerned about at Ridgewood Apartments, if you've ever been up there, it's hard to find, and that's a negative. We like to buy properties, working class properties, that we can have an impact on the tenants and in the community, but you can't see this apartment. We only have a little road, and it just goes straight up when you're going down Higdon Ferry. But when you get up to the top of the property, the reason that the tenants love it up there is because of the serenity and the seclusion. So whoever is going to develop right next to us, with that buffer, we're concerned about noise levels. We would be concerned about what type of property is going to be back there in terms of the lighting, because all that's going to have an effect on, one of the real reasons why people love this property. And that's what we want to protect. Again, we're all pro-development, and, we just want to make sure that the interest of our investment and our tenants, are, carefully considered. The other thing that is a concern today is the amount of traffic that's on Higdon Ferry. When we came here, we left to come here just around 5 o'clock, and it's actually, it's dangerous. When you're coming out and want to turn left, I guess, towards town, I guess, I don't know my north and south, but
I think we all understand.
okay, yeah, thank you. So when you go to turn out, it's almost impossible. It's a constant complaint and amongst our tenant, and it's really serious. So, if we're going to have a lot more traffic next door, depending on what this person is going to develop, I would be very concerned, because our property is, we're almost at the point there where Higdon Ferry and Central come together. And boy, there's an enormous amount of traffic today just on the roads that are there. So thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to us. It was worth the trip. We'd love to do more with you here and invest more. We'll look forward to hearing back from you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for making the trip and being so concerned. Ms. Sullen, what do we do?
Two things. I want to tell the Bowmans that at the time of development, because this will be commercial property, should it be rezoned, adjacent to residential, there will be a required buffer involved. We cannot condition the zone for that. We cannot condition the zone, period. But that will be an element of the site plan review, should this be approved and should development be proposed. Excuse me. So I want to assure you of that. Mr. Stouter, would you read from the code book, please, what that says about what the exact procedure is in the absence of an applicant? Sure.
Ms. Selman, may I make a comment to the people that came in?
If you'd like to.
For my years on the planning commission, whenever there's been a new construction project, it's been my experience over the years that with all of these projects, the lighting that you mentioned a concern over, the lighting is always to be downcast, and there's special attention made on not to disturb surrounding properties. So I thought I would just mention that because you brought it up, and I wanted to do what I could to alleviate that concern.
And I'm sorry, but I don't think we can do anything about the traffic.
This is hot.
We live in Orlando.
This is Hot
May I
Springs.
ask, does any of you know what the intent is there, what the owner wants to put there? Has that been discussed yet? Do we know?
We don't have anything active at this time.
You don't?
No.
Okay,
This is just a zoning request, sir.
okay, all right, okay, thank you.
I think Walt Disney might be involved with it, though.
Oh, no.
Nope, but it'd be in the land trust then.
No.
Okay, Director Selman, 16-11, under subsection 5, applicant, public hearing attendance is mandatory. Says Planning Commission shall dismiss.
They'll have to refile, I would assume.
But we will need a motion to dismiss then, per 16-11-5.
I'd like to make a motion to dismiss per 16-211-5.
I'll
Second.
them on all 30.
Do we need a name vote or just an all in favor?
No, it's a name vote.
And I Zoom, I can only do thumbs up this many times.
Mr. Stoddard, would you please call the roll?
Stafford,
Approve.
Baker,
This is a motion to dismiss.
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Gerke,
Approve.
White,
Approve.
Walker,
Yes.
Ramick,
Aye.
Hobby,
Approve.
Erickson,
Approve.
Janet.
Approved.
Okay. The item has been dismissed per 16-11, subsection 5. The applicant is not present. So should this come back, it will come back as a new item. And Mr. and Mrs. Bowman, I'm sure you'll receive notice again if that happens. Yep, thank you.
Now come back for a vacation. We'd love to have you here.
Hot Springs has got a lot more to offer than Orlando.
Okay.
Okay,
Madam
excuse
Chairman,
me.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
No, I'm
We have a
sorry.
director's
Nope, nope,
report.
nope, nope,
I'm
I'm sorry. We need to ask for the director's report.
You've been on Zoom too long, Rick.
Yeah, I know.
Wasn't there something we were going to talk about? Because I sure don't remember it. Oh, we were going to continue the training if we didn't finish it, but we did.
Yeah, we
So,
That's
the
all?
director reports that the training has been concluded, and I want to re-welcome Lori and Brian and Bart, and re-welcome officially Carrie Hobby. So thank you very much. Thank you, Michelle Baker, for Zooming, and Baker Goldsmith, if you're still there. Thank you for joining us, and
Now
we are,
Commissioner Ramick.
and, oh, Commissioner Ramick.
What about?
May I have a motion?
Oh, may I have
Yeah.
a motion, Mr. Chairman, to
You may make a motion.
adjourn?
Second.
I'd like to make a motion to
All in
adjourn.
favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay.
Bye.
Yeah,
Okay.